I think the hardest part is figuring out a good way to make a big bad that they will actually want to hunt down and learn more about. Um, so one way to do it, and I haven't tried this out, but it's something I was thinking about this week. Create sort of a handful of villains, right? Every campaign is going to need a few, and if you create these, and I like to have them sort of connected, maybe they all belong to some sort of like dark council, or maybe they all get funded by different sources, or there's some sort of network, right? That, criminals, villains, something like that. Having loose connections to them is just fun, but you want some variety, right? So there's different villains each time you play. But in my experience, if you introduce, let's say, here's like, I have like a dwarven inventor who's making constructs and trying to take over, this dwarven city politically, right, through manipulation. That's a bad guy. And then over here, there's like an orc warlord who's like basically a forgotten prince, or sort of a rejected prince who's gonna do what he can to prove himself to his father. Maybe that's another villain. Or over here there's like a sort of a baron who's basically kind of lording over his people and has sort of created this really toxic location. I might create a bunch of different characters like that intersect with the campaign in different ways, and kind of just see which ones really sort of that my party really hates, and then know that I can take that threat and elevate it to a higher point, and at least I know that they're like into that, like they're going to be actively engaged with whoever that is. Because to some extent, that's the secret too for NPCs. People want to know, how do I make memorable NPCs? And I think that we don't actually. I think that players make memorable NPCs. All that we can do is provide some options for them, and through their gameplay, they'll pick them out. All we have to do is sort of listen and then make sure that we lean into and yes and what they decide to highlight. So to some extent, it's just about providing some options and then waiting to see what bubbles to the surface. I mean, it's one way to try, and I haven't tried that yet, but I can see in my 2 campaigns that I run right now, I can see that is a viable option. I can see them remember certain characters, remember certain minor villains, and go like, I could have done more with that one. I could have brought that one back. I could have made that one a bigger threat. So it's worth a shot. Oh, exactly. Yeah. So, if they're going to make it if your players are going to make it that easy, let them, right? It's hard enough designing a world and all the different things that players are going to explore. If they're going to give us some easy wins, we might as well take it. That's a great parallel. Create the Sinister Six. Yeah. And in a sense, what the party is going to do, or your players or player, they're going to tell you who the leader of the Sinister Six is. They're going to indicate to you in some form or fashion, if you're paying attention, like, okay, it's definitely like Doc Ock is there. That's who they really hate. Or like, I don't know, Sandman really gets under their skin. Whoever that is, like, that's who you rise up, who you raise up above the other ones, and everybody else kind of acts in that support role. And it lets you explore different things too, right? You can play with different villain motivations and different tropes. I think cliches are awesome. Uh, I think that it could be tempting to shy away from cliches because, that's been done 100,000 times. I don't want to do that again. But I think they're cliches for a reason, and it's worth exploring. It's worth trying them out, a bit in your own style, because everybody's got their own way, and just seeing if it catches, right? I mean, my advice for planning out campaign, which planning campaigns is difficult, and it's something I want to do some on the channel, like for real, like let's actually plan this as though it were a real campaign. How would I lay it out? but generally speaking, the rule is, or the rule as I see it is, if you're running a session today, then you have that super defined. You've figured out what that's going to look like. Next week, well, you have a vague idea, but it depends what the players do this week. The week after that, pretty loose. And then once you go out beyond that, it's like I have basically an outline with some bullet points of cool things that could happen, right? That's going to help you stay nimble and not get trapped and thinking like, well, they can't go that way. I don't have any, that's not where they have to go this other way, right? It's going to save you from a lot of those pitfalls and traps. And it's going to, you're not going to waste time prepping something that you don't end up getting to use. That's the worst, right? You don't want to spend hours preparing something that then nobody ever gets to play. That could be a really frustrating experience and can burn people out, or can lead DMs to, I think, run the game in like less than optimal ways. But yeah, exactly. It's a balancing act. It's back and forth all the time. At least if it's, you kind of want it riding on that edge, you kind of want it going back and forth, and making sure that it's player and dungeon master both contributing.